Welcome to Hable Talks, the podcast about people and tech. We're joined today by a very special guest, Annette Cmela, who we'll introduce in just a minute. And this episode is for Mental Health Awareness Week, which is happening this month. Sean, I know this is a very kind of important episode and very close to your heart. So do you just want to maybe do a bit of an intro, talk a bit about Mental Health Awareness Week first, and then we can bring Annette in?
Yeah, sure, will do. Thank you, Mark. And it's lovely to have Annette with us. I think we're very lucky to have Annette as a guest today, and we'll come on to an introduction shortly. But it is an important topic for me personally, and I know for you as well, Mark, and all of us at Hable. Mental Health Awareness Week, for those that are new to this happens every year. This year it's between the 9th and the 15th, and I guess it's designed to really encourage people to build connections with friends, colleagues, co-workers, etc., and just raise the awareness of this topic and hopefully encourage and give some confidence and a space for people to talk about this. You know, it shouldn't be just constrained to this week. Of course, it should be all the time, but I think this week is a really important way of making people aware. There's always a theme as well, which is good this year, and I think very prevalently the theme is loneliness. Last year, when we recorded a podcast and published that, when Mark and I were talking about my journey with mental health and depression and anxiety, and the theme was nature and getting out into nature. So this year, we're exploring that topic of loneliness.
So we know that during lockdown, loneliness has been a big topic, both for people at work, but also in their personal lives, which is why we think as a topic for Mental Health Awareness Week, it's really, really important. And we'll be talking a bit about that and other things today with Annette. So Annette, thank you very much for joining us today. You're live from Glastonbury, I've just found out, and you've got a very exciting weekend ahead of you in Glastonbury. And so maybe, Annette, if you could just introduce yourself a little bit, tell us a bit about hidden disabilities, and then we'll kind of start the conversation from there.
Hello, and really excited to join you today. I'm Annette. I'm the head of brand at Hidden Disability Sunflower. I joined the Sunflower in August 2019, just at the point where the awareness around hidden disabilities or non-visible disabilities and the Sunflower was growing. And it had been launched, it'd already been launched in a number of UK airports, starting with Gatwick in 2016. And international airports were starting to come on board, and there were trials of the Sunflower at major UK supermarkets, NHS trusts and GPs that were taking place at the time.
Great. And can you tell us a bit about the early beginnings of it at Gatwick and kind of how it came about and what the Sunflower was kind of designed to represent?
So in 2016, the accessibility team at Gatwick Airport were already assisting over 500 disabled passengers a year, but they recognised at the time that there were some passengers who had a non-visible disability, and they were very keen to assist them. So they did an evaluation which included the Gatwick team, the Airport Passenger Authority Group, and a number of local and national charities. And as a result of that evaluation, the Sunflower was designed, and it was chosen to reflect the idea of confidence and growth and strength as well as positivity. And it was a symbol that allowed people to indicate that they had a non-visible disability and that they may need time or patience or additional support as they went through the airport. It was launched in May of that year, and the feedback was really positive.
And can you give us, for people that maybe don't understand the term, what non-visible disabilities are and some examples of them maybe?
So some disabilities are not immediately obvious. They can be physical, they can be mental, neurological, and include conditions such as autism, Asperger, ADHD, cognitive impairments like learning difficulties and dementia, as well as mental health conditions and speech impairments, sight and hearing loss. They can also include respiratory conditions and chronic conditions such as asthma, diabetes, chronic pain, when those significantly impact day-to-day life. And often people will experience a combination of both visible and invisible and non-visible impairments and conditions.
Yeah. And the Sunflower then, that's a physical lanyard that you would wear to let people know in a kind of subtle way, I suppose, that you might have a hidden disability? Is that how it works?
But yes. So the sunflower really acts as an awareness tool, and it comes in a variety of forms. So the most recognised one is the lanyard, but for people who cannot wear lanyard because of sensory issues, we've got badges or we've got wristbands. So we really try and work to make sure that anyone who wants to use it can wear it in a form that suits them. And so people choose to wear it to discreetly identify that they have a non-visible disability and that they may need some support, help, or just a little bit more time when they're at work or in the shops or using transport or in any public spaces where organisations of businesses have also joined the Sunflower to support.
And you said
Oh, sorry.
No, go on, Sean, you go.
I'll just segue into this bit. So, Annette, you were talking about how this started, I think you said in the airports and airline industries. Are there other industries now that are taking this on?
Yes. So since I joined in 2016, it's really expanded. So it's now in every sector in the UK. So ranging from retail, travel and tourism, university schools, colleges, the NHS, central and local government agencies, Premiership football teams, theatres and financial institutions. We've also, at the moment, we're currently working with National Highways to support all disabled drivers in England. So we've collaborated with them to create stickers and magnets so that people can use them on their vehicles, so that in an emergency they are supported on motorways and A roads in England. So all the traffic officers across England have been trained to recognise the symbol and to understand that if there is a sticker or magnet on that car, there will be someone in that vehicle who needs additional time and support or help.
I love the idea behind it, because it's a positive visual, isn't it? It's a nice image. The sunflower is, like you said, it's about hope and it's growth, and it's it's pretty. It's a nice visual image, but equally it's discreet in nature, and then I guess encourages the people that recognise it that it's safe to think, right, I need to help this person maybe in a slightly different way than I'd help somebody else, which I think is really positive. And what I didn't realise, Annette, was that mental health is actually considered a hidden disability. Is that right?
That's right. So mental health is a hidden disability, in its very nature. It's not visible, and there's a number of mental health conditions that are included. So ranges from depression to mood disorders to eating disorders, personality disorders, and they're one of the most recognised non-visible disabilities globally.
That's fascinating. So I myself, I had depression for a number of years, Annette, and I was struggling with anxiety attacks. I had incidents where I had an anxiety attack on a plane, and I think that if I had been aware of this, and I think aware of the fact that mental health could have been represented in this scheme that you have, if I picture that time now and being on that plane, and my particular problem was I thought I couldn't get off the plane, and that before it took off, I knew it was going to crash, and the image in my mind was I won't see my kids again, and I built this anxiety up through nothing, and it led to me having an anxiety attack on the plane, and that was all before takeoff had happened. But I do wonder if somebody visibly could have seen me in distress and saw that symbol, whether that experience would have been different.
And yes, I mean, we've worked, so we're in 140 airports globally now, and British Airways have just joined. And we find that passengers using it on the airports and airplanes do get that support. And wearing the sunflower doesn't mean that you have to disclose your disability. You just are indicating that you need some help or some support. So someone who within the organisation that have been trained will approach you and ask you if you need any help. And at that point, they can very much gear the help towards the kinds of, the support towards the kind of help that you need. And it ranges from people who may have anxiety when they're traveling, to people who may need urgent access to the toilet, or who cannot stand for long periods of time. And so the support is very much geared to that individual.
It feels like it's something that creates safety for all involved. For the person wearing it, you're feeling safer. I think that you're indicating that people who are trained will recognise that they might, approach you or spend time with you or see if they need to help you. But equally, for the people that are trained, it helps them feel safe to ask. It looks like you might need some help. Can I help you in any way? That idea of safety, I think, is quite an important foundation when it comes to hidden disabilities, and especially from my experience of mental health.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And what's interesting, it gives confidence as well. So for someone wearing the sunflower, they feel confident that they are going to be supported. And it also gives confidence to the person within the organisation that they know that someone has chosen to wear the sunflower and is essentially indicating that they do want to be asked for that help. So approaching someone with the sunflower is very much part of it, because it's a choice. No one's forcing anyone to wear the sunflower. It's a personal choice that you may need help at that particular point. And people don't wear it all the time. They only wear it when they do need that safety.
So it sounds like, Annette, you joined the organisation pre-pandemic, and it was already kind of starting to grow and being successful. How has its use changed during the pandemic in the last couple of years?
So the purpose of the sunflower, for someone to be able to indicate that they have a non-visible disability, hasn't changed. So before the pandemic, throughout the pandemic, and now, really, it's simply there to indicate that someone's got a non-visible disability. But the pandemic was a really challenging time with sort of lockdowns and people, personal sacrifices and uncertainty, and it really hit some social groups particularly hard, who are already facing barriers in their lives. And what I think the pandemic did was highlighted and increased awareness around non-visible disabilities, and that really supported the need for the sunflower. So during the pandemic, people with non-visible disabilities would wear the sunflower to highlight that need for additional support and understanding. And the needs ranged from needing more time to process information, or understanding new structures that were being put in place, such as one-way systems in stores, not being able to stand in queues for long periods of time, or needing urgent access to toilet facilities, or always having to have a carer with them. So some people always need a carer with them, and the sunflower will sort of help them indicate that. And things like partially sighted people not being able to judge distance. So when you had to stay 2 meters away, partially sighted people would wear the sunflower to indicate that they couldn't judge that distance. And to deaf people needing to be able to lip read. And it also gave businesses a tool to open up conversations with their employees about invisible disabilities, particularly in regards to mental health. So a business that joins the sunflower essentially acknowledges that during that unprecedented situation that we were all experiencing, that there were days where some people were experiencing huge anxiety and mental health issues, and they could use the sunflower either digitally. We did digital versions for that people could use on calls through Zoom or through Teams or different platforms. And you could have a background to say, actually, today I'm not feeling so good, or I don't want to have my screen on, and I just need that little bit of understanding.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So in a virtual or hybrid meeting, like this one, for example, is that how they would do it? So I guess you could physically wear the lanyard or the badge on your body, but also the virtual background is a great idea. I think that's brilliant. And I guess you saw a lot of that used, did you? Well, we all flipped to video meetings.
Yes, I mean, we worked with, some organisations, some financial institutions came on board, and they were working remotely, and they really wanted to be able to use the Sunflower to support their staff. So we worked with them to develop the backgrounds and the icons. You can put the icons on as your image. And it was very successful for staff to be able to just very quickly indicate that they needed support that day on the calls. So and people could wear the lanyards as well. But it was primarily at that time done digitally.
Fantastic.
Because of all the restrictions that were in place.
And what an important thing to happen. I mean, we've all seen the impact on people's mental health, haven't we, around, working remotely, working in isolation on your own. It's impacted a lot of people's well-being, and we've seen that. And I think every employer has become more conscious and understanding and compassionate towards their people around and thinking about their people's well-being. So I think it's a fantastic initiative to have. Have you seen the lanyard benefiting people with mental health issues, Annette?
Have I seen? Sorry, that's a very difficult question to answer. Have I seen? Because I'm quite literal. It has. I mean, within organisations, it has helped organisations to support their staff. So because there's such a, I think there's a culture of fear and silence around mental health within organisations in the workplace. The Sunflower can certainly help with that. I think is it 1 in 6 workers experience problems such as anxiety, low mood and stress at work. And I think there's around 300,000 people who lose their jobs each year because of mental health conditions. So using the Sunflower should allow organisations to open up that conversation with their staff around mental health or around an invisible disability that they need to raise.
That's fantastic, because that's the challenge, I think, or part of the challenge is just making it, in a work environment, a conversation that is allowed to be had without, years ago and even today, fear of impact on your career and, a stigma being attached to it. And all that kind of thing. So I love that. I love that actually a part of the benefit here is that it's educating, I guess, organisations. If an organisation signs up to the Sunflower scheme, it's not just helping those people that want to wear the Sunflower, it's educating those that don't know what that is and that therefore can develop themselves in that area as well.
And we find sort of undoubtedly within organisations there's going to be people who have invisible disabilities, and organisations probably employ more people with disabilities than they realise, exactly as you said, because some people's disability is not visible and they've just chosen not to disclose it. And as you referred to, there's a number of reasons around that, fear that they may be treated differently or that any job opportunities could be withheld from them. And so what the Sunflower is a great way to start changing or creating a culture where someone feels comfortable to disclose that they've got a non-visible disability. It's sort of a stepping stone to creating a disability inclusive workspace and support, an organisation's disability, diversity and inclusion objectives.
Do you think in general businesses are becoming more aware of the need to have these conversations? If you look at us as a society over the last 10 years, for example, do you think the picture's improving across businesses?
Definitely. I mean, I think the pandemic has helped highlight this, and organisations, we're talking to a lot of organisations about using the Sunflower for their diversity and inclusion objectives. So it allows them to start that journey to creating a disability inclusive culture and opens up conversations about what reasonable adjustments would benefit those who are wearing the Sunflower. So by joining the Sunflower, the organisation is indicating that they're supporting their if they're supporting their staff, they're supporting their job applicants, which they need to do, and to make space for that conversation around adjustments that they need to make on an individual basis. And these can range from providing recruitment literature in large print, or adapting the way that they do their interviews, to having a quiet space within the workplace so that someone can take time out, or giving more time for people to prepare and process information, or using clear language. So it really does open up those conversations for them to make that culture shift.
So on a practical level, if a small business like Hable, for example, we're about 40 people, how does it work? If we wanted to say, we want to adopt the sunflower and some of the processes within our business, how do we go about that?
So an organisation that wants to join the sunflower would go onto our website, and we've got a number of different levels at which they can join. So you can join for free, and at that point you get access to some summary training around the sunflower and non-visible disabilities. But really most of the organisations join at the standard level, which means that they get access to a full training suite of videos. We ask that an organisation trains all their staff to recognise the sunflower, to have an understanding of what an invisible disability is, and also to be confident to approach someone who's wearing a sunflower, to be able to support them in the best way that they can.
Fantastic.
You've really educated us, Annette, I think, on a topic that we are very interested in, always keen to know more about, and with anything around this, I think you can never know everything, and it's just being okay with that and enabling yourself to be curious and ask, to educate yourself more and to help others feel comfortable. It's just a big part of it, and you've done that with us today, and clearly your organisation is doing that for God knows how many thousands of people, which is a fantastic cause. So we really appreciate you coming on this podcast and talking to us about it. For anybody listening to this, this is an important topic for Hable as well. We are an accessibility partner. We have an accessibility practice. We're a disability confident leader, employer. We talk about that on our website. We talk about mental health on our website, and would really encourage those conversations to keep going. So Annette, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to have you. We'll link all of the information in the comments after this, and we'll have your website and any further information on there. But I think it's probably about time we let you go and find your dragon costume. I assume you're the summer dragon that's going to win the battle.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Annette. It's been really good to meet you.